Lost in life? Carl Jung says you're chasing the wrong dreams. Have you ever looked around and felt like you're moving, achieving, doing, but still completely lost? Like your days are filled with motion but lacking meaning. You're not alone, and more importantly, you're not crazy. You're experiencing something Carl Jung, one of the most profound psychological minds of the 20th century, not only understood but predicted. He believed that much of human suffering, confusion, and existential dread comes not from failure, but from chasing the wrong dreams. In other words, it's not that we're aimless, it's that we're aiming at the wrong target. Let's start with a question that might shake you. What if everything you've been working for, success, approval, stability, is actually a distraction from your real purpose? Jung didn't see the modern world as a place full of meaning. In fact, he saw it as a place that had lost its soul. He wrote that people today suffer from a loss of connection with themselves. And you can feel that, right? We're more connected than ever through technology, yet more disconnected from ourselves than any generation before. We chase money, status, fame. We chase dreams that we didn't even choose. They were handed to us by society, by our parents, by the media, by the culture we were born into. Jung called this the persona, the mask we wear to fit into the world. But behind the mask lies the self, the deeper, truer part of you that's often ignored or buried alive.
Click subscribe to this channel to get more topics you love.
Now here's the kicker. The more you identify with the mask, the more alienated you become from your own inner life. And that alienation feels like confusion, like emptiness, like burnout that no self-help book can fix. You can have a six-figure job, a beautiful home, a perfectly curated Instagram feed, and still feel hollow. Because if those dreams weren't born from your authentic self, they'll never satisfy you. Jung warned us, your vision will become clear only when you look into your heart. Who looks outside dreams. Who looks inside awakens. Think about that for a second. Who looks outside dreams. Who looks inside awakens. That line is a philosophical bomb. We're told to look outside for direction, get the right job, marry the right person, follow the right life plan. But Jung flips all of that. He says, you're not here to fit into a mold. You're here to become yourself, to individuate. That's Jung's term for the journey toward wholeness, not perfection, not success, but wholeness. It becoming the full, authentic version of who you are, light and shadow, strength and vulnerability, dreams and doubts. So the next time you feel lost, don't ask, what should I do? Ask instead, whose dream am I chasing? Is it yours? Or is it someone else's idea of what your life should look like? Jung believed most people never become their true selves because they're too busy living out someone else's script. And the tragedy? They don't even realize it. They get to the end of life having played a role perfectly, but having never met the actor behind the role. At this point, you might be wondering, how do I even know what my true self wants? That's where things get wild. Jung didn't believe the answers were always rational. He believed in the unconscious, the deep, mysterious part of us that speaks in images, dreams, symbols. Your soul doesn't talk in spreadsheets or resumes. It talks in visions, longings, the things that haunt you in your quiet moments. That recurring dream you can't shake. That strange fascination you've had since childhood. That anxiety that rises when you think about your future. That's not random. That's your deeper self trying to get your attention. But most of us are too busy or too afraid to listen. We numb, we scroll, we distract. Why? Because to truly listen means to face parts of ourselves we've buried. Our fears, our failures, our shadow. But Jung insisted that until we confront our shadow, the parts of ourselves we reject, we can never be whole. He said, one does not become enlightened by imagining figures of light, but by making the darkness conscious. So here's a deep question for you. What part of yourself have you been running from? And more importantly, what would happen if you stopped running? Jung didn't offer quick fixes. He wasn't about 5 steps to success or morning routines that guarantee happiness. He offered something much more dangerous and much more powerful, a path inward. A call to stop chasing dreams that don't belong to us and start remembering who we truly are beneath the noise. And maybe the reason you feel lost is because your soul is trying to find you again. The shadow you ignore is the life you crave, why your inner darkness holds the secret to your purpose. Let's go deeper. If Carl Jung was right, and I believe he was, then the part of you that feels most dangerous, most shameful, most unworthy, that might actually be the key to everything you've been searching for. That's the paradox he uncovered. Your shadow, the part of yourself you've rejected, denied, or buried, is not your enemy. It's your map. It's the concealed blueprint of your unlived life. Let's be real, we all have a shadow. Every single one of us. It's made up of the things we were told not to be. Too emotional, too loud, too ambitious, or too sensitive, too weird, too honest. And so, in order to survive, we cut away the parts of ourselves that didn't fit the world's expectations. We became smaller, safer, more acceptable. We became what Jung called a persona, a mask designed to gain approval, not to express truth. But here's where it gets tragic. The more you deny your shadow, the more it controls you from the dark. And think about it. Have you ever lashed out in a way that shocked you? Ever sabotaged something good without knowing why? Ever felt an irrational fear, rage, or sadness that made no logical sense? That's your shadow speaking. Not because it hates you, but because it wants your attention. Jung said it best, until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate. Read that again. Let it sink in. You're not controlled by fate, you're controlled by the parts of yourself you refuse to face. But what if those parts aren't just broken pieces? What if they are the very things you need to reclaim in order to become whole? That's the core of Jung's philosophy. The shadow isn't evil. It's misdirected energy. It's your passion that got twisted into aggression, your sensitivity that turned into anxiety, your creativity that got buried under conformity. The shadow holds your pain, yes, but also your power. Let me ask you something uncomfortable. What do you envy? Envy is a powerful clue. When you envy someone's boldness, their freedom, their confidence, what you're really seeing is a piece of your own shadow projected onto them. It's a part of you that wants to live, but has been locked in the basement of your psyche. So when you find yourself judging others harshly, especially when it feels irrational, ask yourself, is this really about them? Or is this about a part of me I haven't allowed to exist? Jung believed that integrating the shadow, bringing it into the light, is not just healing. It's transformative. It's how you stop being a fragmented version of yourself and start becoming real. Imagine living without constantly editing yourself. Imagine speaking your truth without fear. Imagine pursuing what actually sets your soul on fire, even if it doesn't make sense to anyone else. That's not rebellion. That's individuation, the process of becoming a whole human being. But here's the thing, individuation doesn't happen by accident. It requires courage, radical honesty, a willingness to sit in the dark and listen. Most people won't do it. It's easier to keep performing. But deep down, you know when you're living a lie. You feel it in your body, in your stomach, or in your chest. That tightness, that's the cost of being false. The freedom of authenticity is on the other side of that tension. So here's the real question. What would happen if you stopped running from your shadow and started listening to it instead? Not indulging it, not letting it run wild, but integrating it, befriending it, learning what it has to teach you. Because behind your fear might be your courage, behind your shame might be your calling, behind your darkness might be your light. Jung wasn't trying to scare us, he was trying to wake us up. You're not broken, you're divided, and the journey is not about becoming someone new. It's about reuniting with the parts of you that were left behind. The false self is winning, how society rewards your mask and punishes your truth. Most people don't even realize they're wearing a mask. They think the version of themselves they present to the world, the smiling, agreeable, productive self, is real. But if you've ever felt a quiet ache after a conversation where you didn't speak your truth, or a strange emptiness after achieving something that should have made you feel proud, then you've met the cracks in your persona. That mask is what Jung called the false self. And here's the disturbing part. Society loves it. It rewards your ability to perform, to adapt, to conform. It praises your mask while ignoring your soul. Think about the systems we live in. School doesn't teach us to know ourselves, it teaches us to obey rules, meet expectations, and compete for approval. Work doesn't ask who you are, it asks what you can produce. Social media doesn't care about your wholeness, it cares about your image. From the very beginning, we're trained to construct a version of ourselves that wins praise, avoids judgment, and fits the mold. And the better you are at playing this game, the harder it becomes to hear your own inner voice. That's the trap. The more successful your mask becomes, the more invisible your true self feels. And over time, you start to forget there even was a true self. You become so entangled in performance that authenticity feels like a threat. Jung warned us that we lose ourselves not through failure, but through adaptation. When we adapt to a sick world, we mistake survival for integrity. And we begin to believe that our worth is tied to how well we hide. Let that sink in. How much of your life has been a performance? That question isn't meant to judge, it's meant to free you. Because every time you betray your truth to gain approval, you're not just lying to others, you're abandoning yourself. And the tragedy is, you don't even get what you're chasing. The validation is never enough. The applause fades. The goalposts move. You win the game, but lose your soul in the process. Jung saw this everywhere, especially in people who reached middle age and realized they had built entire lives that didn't feel like theirs. He called it the midlife crisis, but it's not about age. It's about awakening. It's that moment when the mask starts to crack and the truth begins to seep through. Maybe you've felt it. That whisper inside that says, "This isn't it. This isn't me." That whisper is sacred. Don't ignore it. It's the real you trying to get your attention. But here's the hard part. When you start living from your truth, the world might not clap for you. In fact, it might resist, because your authenticity challenges other people's illusions. When you stop playing the role, you disrupt the script. You'll be called selfish, dramatic, maybe even crazy. That's the cost of truth in a world addicted to masks. And yet, what's the alternative? To keep living as a ghost in your own life. Let me ask you something raw. If everyone in your life only loves your mask, do you feel loved at all? That question is a knife, but it cuts toward healing. Because real love, real connection, real meaning, they only happen when you show up as you actually are. Not polished, not perfect, just real. Jung's invitation wasn't to burn down your life, it was to rebuild it on the foundation of truth. And yes, that truth might be inconvenient. It might make things messier before they get clearer. But it's the only way to experience genuine freedom. Not the freedom to do whatever you want, but the freedom to be who you are without apology. Wholeness, not perfection. Why becoming yourself is the most radical act in the modern world, in a world that constantly tells you to be more. Fix yourself, optimize, improve. Could outperform. Carl Jung offered something radically different. He wasn't interested in perfection. He saw perfection as a facade, an illusion that hides the deeper, more sacred goal, wholeness. And that changes everything, because wholeness doesn't mean being flawless. It means being real. It means integrating all the parts of yourself, the light and the dark, the strong and the broken, into one unified, conscious being. We've been trained to think of life as a climb, always upward, always toward a better version of ourselves. But Jung flips that ladder on its side. He says, stop climbing, start exploring. Go inward, go downward, go into the parts of yourself you've been avoiding. Your fears, your contradictions, your wounds. That's where the treasure is buried. That's where your self with a capital S has been waiting. Because the self isn't some perfect, enlightened version of you. It's the totality of who you are when you finally stop pretending. Wholeness is messy. It means holding opposing truths. It means being both confident and afraid, both brave and uncertain. It means honoring your past without being defined by it. It means forgiving yourself without excusing yourself. This isn't about becoming someone else, it's about coming home to the person you've always been beneath the noise. But make no mistake, this is rebellion. In a society that profits off your insecurity, your self-doubt, your endless striving, choosing to accept yourself is a revolutionary act. Choosing to listen to your soul over your status is subversive. Choosing to stop performing and start being is nothing short of heroic. You'll be misunderstood, you'll be judged, but you'll also be alive. And Jung believed that this journey, the journey toward the self, wasn't just personal. It was collective. He saw the fragmentation in the world as a reflection of the fragmentation within us. Wars, divisions, oppression, they all begin in the human psyche. So if we want to heal the world, we have to start by healing ourselves. Not by becoming perfect, but by becoming whole. So let me leave you with one last question, maybe the most important one of all. What are you willing to lose in order to find yourself? Because becoming who you truly are will cost you your mask, your comfort, your approval. But what you gain in return is something the world can never give you and something it can never take away. You gain yourself. And that, Jung would say, is the only dream truly worth chasing.